Okay, so let's recap what we talked about. We talked about your family structure. At the end of the day, you have this really pretty amazing family, your mom and things like that, your grandmother. And you come out at 13. And so this is is this like a whole new world for you at this point?
Coming out?
Yeah. Like, is it different?
Not really, no.
Okay. But do you feel like elated that, okay, I got this off my chest? Or is this like a whole new, okay, now I got to deal with a whole new set of...
It became more difficult because, there were people I interacted with that didn't accept that or vehemently did not accept that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So we went through elementary school and you did all this. You came out. You are getting ready to, you said at 16, you're doing a little bit of, well, you're driving, but you were driving before. And so now take us into, because you mentioned college is around the corner. So high school, going into college, how was that for you?
High school into college?
Yeah.
So
you didn't want to leave your grandmother. You mentioned that in part one. So
and you didn't.
And you
did not.
Didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Refused to. Let's see. High school was difficult. Honestly, by 11th grade, I was done. At LPA, that's when they introduced the 18 and out. And a lot of LPAers did take the 18 credits.
Oh, I was like 18 years old. I'm like, I hope
18,
so.
Well, you're basically 18, but no, you could just go on and get out. And at LPA, they had you take so many more credits than what the state was requiring at the time.
I don't know.
But they made us sign contracts at some point that forced us to stay there. Yes, yeah. I didn't do 18 and out, but I can tell you, I wish I had sometimes. I really wish I had. Like, there were classes I was being forced to take I just didn't care to take. I was taking calculus, for example, as a senior, and I hate math. I hate it. And that teacher, I didn't really say a lot about teachers going through school, but there were teachers that helped, and there were teachers that didn't.
Let's talk about those teachers, the good ones and the ones that didn't make your life easier.
Well, the good ones, they oh my God, they saved me. Honestly, they did.
I'll bet.
There was, when my great grandfather passed away, there was a teacher who, I just burst out in tears in her class. And she came to me and she asked me, and she totally understood, and she let me just kind of stay there. And she kind of helped me through my grieving process. The only time I got to work through my grieving process was with this teacher. Oh, wow. And to this day, when I see her out in the community, she's always checking up on me. She's like, "Oh my God, how are you doing, Maurice? Like, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yes, thank you, Miss Cresswell. I'm still alive." So I had her. I did have a couple math instructors that made me actually kind of like math. Like it.
Well, tolerate.
You know what? Well, you like when you're doing carpentry.
Yeah.
This algebra that you use. There's functional math.
There is functional math.
I appreciate functional math. You have to have that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's when we get into the theoretical stuff that I'm like, why? Why do I have to?
It's not for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I had a calculus instructor who told me I had the worst work ethic she had ever seen, and I was never going to do anything with my life.
Wow.
And that has been in the back of my head ever since she said it, because I remember just looking at her and I'm like, I would never say something mean to a teacher. I've watched teachers have breakdowns, and I could never do that to somebody.
Wow.
But in my head, I'm like, you bitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to prove you wrong.
Just because
it won't be in math.
It won't be math.
You'll never forget it.
No,
of course not.
Which is why I want to be a teacher. Because I want to make that kind of impact. There are things that, I'll never forget. I had my art teacher, Miss Morrow. She was like my saving grace throughout high school, because I like I said, I hated high school. I didn't even take my senior picture. I hated it so much. So I'm not even in the yearbook for
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, I hate all of you. I never want to see any of you again. I actually went to the reunion, and as I'm sitting there, I'm like, why am I here? I hated everybody. I am reminded how much I hated it. Like, they all made fun of me. After I came out at 13, there was one friend I had to come out to a second time. A second time. And it was because I was 15 years old. It was right before my sister moved in with us, or it was right during the time that she was about to. And my great grandmother was like getting situated with it, and we were celebrating his birthday. I know this is probably off topic from where you wanted to go.
No, keep going, keep going. This is perfect.
Us.
This is great.
We were best friends from I think 6th or 7th grade, and he was actually the kind of person I avoided all my life because he just looked like all the guys that bullied me in elementary school. You know what I mean? Like he just had that motif. Like I'm looking at him, I'm like, oh no, you're bad. No, I'm gonna stay away from you. And then the one friend I had at lunch was sitting with him, and I'm like, no, please, I don't want to have to deal with this. But we ended up like really clicking, and we became like really good friends. I mean, we called each other brother for a time. And he ended up having to leave the school because he lived out of the zone. They were redoing buses or something. And my great grandfather liked him so much that he offered to go pick him up in Port St. Lucie and bring him to school every day. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because when I remember I was telling you the anxiety, that all stopped when I met him.
Oh.
He was the friend that helped me to like be okay.
Okay.
And after my great grandfather died and I was going through all the things I was going through in those years, I would still have him to call and like just having him there, even though he wasn't physically present all the time, was a relief. Like I thought to myself, as long as I've got this one friend, I will be okay.
Yeah.
But then at 15, we decided to meet up, and we had both undergone a lot of changes. I mean, from the time I last saw him when I was 13 to 15, you know, we grew up a lot. He looked different. I looked different. His mannerisms were a little bit different. My mannerisms were a little bit different, but we still had the core interests at heart. Like we were both the same. And we had this one great weekend together for his birthday. And I remember all throughout the weekend, he's bashing gay people. Yeah. Oh my God. It was this really bizarre thing that happened. It was MTV Cribs.
Right. Oh, I remember
and Boy George's house was on, and he had penises everywhere.
Yeah. I remember that one actually. I saw that.
Well, yeah. So we're watching it, and he's like, why? Why? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know why. Why would you do that? It's kind of gross. I don't want to look at him all the time. My God. But he's like, oh, they're so disgusting. What's wrong with them? We should put them all on an island and blow it up.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him like, what? So I'm okay. I'm like, all right. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, surely he remembers. How could you forget something like that? So no, we go on throughout the weekend. We even slept in the same bed. You know what I mean? But when I woke up, I happened to look over, and he was like wide-eyed, staring at me like.
Really?
I think he was very homophobic. And I don't want to expose him too much here, but he.
Okay.
It was at the end of this weekend. I had gotten kind of just fed up with it. You know, I had let it go on for so long that I was just kind of curious, like, where is this leading? And he just wasn't letting it go. In fact, it was getting worse. And all the while, I feel like we're growing in this connection where like, our bond is strengthening, and yet you're being more hateful towards a very integral part of me.
Right.
And at some point, he just like jokingly was like, so you're gay? Because of a conversation we were in. And I look at him like, yes, I am. And he just dropped his mouth. And of course, I get asked to take out the trash right in that moment. And I do. When I come back, and he's still sitting there, and we have this long conversation. But what it came down to is our friendship dissolved that night.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel? I mean,
I was devastated.
Yeah. He helped you get through all of that stuff, but
he was my look, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm still not over it.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's unanswered questions because you don't, what happened? It was like the shift, and you don't know where it came from.
I don't know where it came from. I mean, he told me that his friends, would say things about gay people, and that he kind of just agreed to agree, and that he didn't really believe it himself. And then what came out is that in his religion, being Christian, he doesn't accept it. And so because it's not in his religion to accept it, he can't accept me. And to this, like I said, to this day, I'm still not over it.
This is the first time in our conversation that you bring up the religion. What role has it played in your life up to this point? I mean, there's a very tumultuous relationship between gay and in religion, particularly during that time, and even now, it's more open, but it's still an underlying issue.
Taboo. Yeah.
So, that is a tricky one for me. Only because like my great grandparents, they weren't really religious, though they were Christian. They just didn't go to church. They didn't like going to church. They didn't like the people that went to church. Basically, what it came down to. And my mom. She's hyper religious. After the second time she went back,
Oh, okay.
she came back and she was hyper religious.
Okay.
And my grandparents on my dad's side, Baptist. I went to church with them a couple of times. Kind of horrifying. The thing, the whole, hand on the head. Everyone's like up. I don't know. It kind of scared me, honestly. And in my own experiences growing up, I got sent off to Bible camps, and I got sent off to like Sunday school, that sort of thing. And I just never jived well with anyone that was there. But I didn't know if it was because of race or if it was because I didn't know anything about the Bible.
Okay.
I mean, how do you put a kid in a room and start asking questions about the Bible when they've never read it before and then like ostracize them for not knowing it? That drove me crazy. Brother John, I will never forget you.
You're supposed to teach me. You're supposed to teach me the word.
I cried. I mean, I cried a lot when I was a kid.
Oh my God. That's
I still cry. But
nothing wrong with that.
No, right?
Nothing wrong with that. I'm
No.
a crier.
So let me take the structure of religion out of it. What about God? What is your interpretation or your experience with that aspect, with that part?
I highly believe in God.
Okay.
There's just too many things that happen they cannot be coincidence.
Okay.
And my belief in God is more of like a conscious, energetic being that probably guides our actions to connect us or to find connection, or the opportunity for connection, the opportunity for love and for change in a positive direction. I became hyper religious in that 3-year period I was talking about, from 10 to 13. It's also when I was on Benadryl because I had terrible allergies thanks to asthma. And I remember I read parts of the Bible randomly. I read Revelation specifically, and it really inspired actually a lot of what I do today as an artist. But I came to the conclusion that I don't think any one particular religion has it quite right. I think that we build up these structures to help us to cope and to deal, and certainly to set some boundaries, because we're all comfortable with boundaries. But I just don't see any being of energy that. What difference would it make what gender you are, who you love? I mean, in the womb, I believe we all start out as women anyway, and then there are people who are born that have both. So what do you make of them? Or if some tragic accident happens, what then? How do you define that?
High school. And we talked about religion. We talked about, family, now religion, now schooling. How would you categorize yourself as a student? Were you someone that really wanted to follow an educational path?
Hell no. He wanted to get out of school. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's true.
Which is interesting now.
How would you categorize?
How I was raised.
How would you categorize yourself as a student?
I'm a terrible student. When I get put into a classroom, I'm dumb as a brick. Like, the teacher would look at me like, huh? I just, everything just is out of my head, and I don't know why I'm still that way today. I lose it, man. I don't know. Like, if I'm in a different scenario, I'm perfectly fine. I can function. I can give you information, but you put me in a classroom where I'm being told I'm a student. You know what? It just hit me. It's because all those times I was a student in high school and we did things like literature reviews, and I gave my opinion on something, the teacher would say, "But you're wrong."
Oh, there you go.
Oh, but this is my interpretation. You asked for but your interpretation is wrong.
Yeah, I could see that. I totally get that.
And I'm like, but it's my interpretation.
Right.
And that's what you're asking for.
You want me to think like you.
Yeah.
You want all of us to think like you. That's what education's for, is just to make all of us like you. Really?
I have some thoughts on that because, I'm in school, and one of the things that Omar said to me, and this is not about me, but just because I get what you're saying, is that he was like, so wait, you're going to write a paper, but you have to take the words of somebody else and paraphrase it and then cite it, so it's not really your words, so then it's not your work, so then what's the meaning of this? What's the purpose?
Right.
So I get that, because it's like, you can argue something, but you're just taking the arguments of somebody else and paraphrasing it. So what's the point.
Who decided that the person who wrote that book was so credible?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, like everything that was written before us,
Yeah.
someone had to say, all right, I believe in you, but now it's doctrine.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you say that, but yet you did go to college? Question
Okay, yeah.
mark?
So I did not at first.
Okay.
I was going to go to Flagler because that's where my friends went.
Yeah.
And I was an art kid. And, you know, I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to go art community. Like, Flagler College, beautiful
Yeah.
place. St. Augustine, it's where my great grandmother's people were from. Still some family members there that were supportive. So I was like, oh, you know, it wouldn't be so bad. But then I had made this choice. I'm going to stay here. And I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? So I was working at Indian River State College part-time already. I had been working there since I was just turned 16.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So on top of all those other things, I'm also working.
Wow. Okay.
And
You left that out. So that's
yeah,
okay.
I know. It's because there's so many things layered.
I
It's
know.
hard.
There's
to
a lot. There's a
Yeah.
there, yeah. There's a. I mean, a person's life is not just a straight line.
Not
You know,
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
not. It's not just. You're not just gay. You're not just mixed race. There's so much more. There's so many things. We just
intricacies.
we just tend to simplify it and say, "Oh, that's that," but that's not true.
No, there's so many other pieces to it.
So you were working part-time. What were you doing at the college?
I worked at the bookstore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was working at the bookstore.
What year
Which-
was this?
It was 2004.
Oh my goodness.
Three or four. It was right there. I think it was 4.
Okay.
But my friend worked there. That's how I got the job there. I was just there every day. I was there every day. Well, I put out a video that talked about this, but I was there every day so much that the boss was like, if you're going to be here so much, you should just work. And I was like,
16.
give me the broom. I'm like ready to go. And being there, I kind of found like a pseudo family, right? Because my own family was kind of discombobulated and going through all the things that they go through. And the boss, her name was Alyssa. And my mom's name is Lisa. So she kind of became like a mother to me, a working mother. And she helped kind of raise me in the way of working in the working world and the bookstore industry, which as I came to know it, I came to love it and hate it at the same time because it was such a monster. Like the United States, the way that the picture has been painted about bookstores is just so terrible, really. I mean, and it's kind of a joke, a running joke, which is terrible.
What's the joke? Like, explain a little bit
being
of it.
so overly expensive and, you know, that they just want to keep your money and take your money, but really it's the publishers, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Big business in college books.
yes, for publishers.
For the
Yeah, for the
publishers,
publishers,
correct.
yeah.
For the publishers.
Yeah.
There's before
There's
we
a misconception there. I know. Well, just because I'm familiar with that, but yeah, that's interesting.
you mentioned that you had a couple of crushes when you were younger. Were there, up to this point, were there any experiences with love or partners?
Yes.
How did that come about?
Yeah. Wow. I didn't expect to get asked about that. That's
That's a
That's a big part
Hey,
of life.
listen, there's no story worth telling without love somewhere in between, right?
We like to
so
hear
true.
this too. We love the love
oh my gosh.
stories.
It's my first love. So right after I lost my friend coming out the second time,
Oh yeah.
I was completely devastated.
Coming out the second time.
the second
Yeah.
time. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's crazy.
But no, devastated. And my mom, you know, all the same behaviors happen again, right? Same thing from when I was 10 to 13. I'm just like, I'm depressed. I'm writing lots of poetry, which is good because I'm expressing myself.
You got an
But,
outlet, yeah.
Yeah. She introduced me to some new music, Linkin Park and Metallica, stuff I
Okay.
did not listen to before. I was vehemently against it. I'm like, Mom, that's devil's music. Then she turned me on to it. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
God
Linkin
send.
Park, you know,
right? She
yeah.
took me to my first concert during that
Really?
period. Yes, because she was trying to help me to heal, and
Yeah.
like this music was really helping me.
And for
Yeah,
a
I'll tell
Christian,
you.
that's a very
yeah, that's edgy.
Yeah, that's
You know
very
what?
edgy.
Have you ever listened to their lyrics?
I have.
Wow.
Yes, they're very personal, dark, and it's all about that internal struggle.
feeling.
Yeah, they
internal
talk about
struggle.
all
I'm
that,
like,
yeah.
are they gay too? They were going through so many things I was going through at the same time. I was like, this is really strange. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like you question it.
Amazing.
You're like, are they going with they're going through what I'm going through.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was perfect timing for my life.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, okay, my entire life, I have come to understand is a series of acceptances.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, that's basically all life is. What can you accept and what can you not? Because it's where you can't accept something that you have conflict, and that conflict, you're going to end up going around in a cycle, until you do accept it, because how are you going to move forward past it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, what can I do to accept this? I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to befriend straight people. Straight guys are off the table. I'm done with them. Never again. That's how I made sense of that. I was like, I'm just never gonna, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's all women, because that's the only people who seem to want to be my friend and stay. And boys are just a problem. And then one day, me and my cousin are riding 4-wheelers down our street, and there's a boy on a roof, and he's waving at me, and I'm thinking, no, he can't be waving at me. Why would he be waving at me?
Yeah.
So we're just riding around, and he's like he starts like, oh, come on, look at me. And I'm like, why is there a boy on the roof waving at us? So we stop, and he comes down, and he's like, yeah, you guys have 4-wheelers. It's so cool. I want to ride your 4-wheeler. And I'm like, I can't. You're straight.
I don't want to be friends with you.
Yeah, I know it's terrible, right? Because I end up being guilty of the.
Well, you're protecting yourself too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
It really is. Yeah,
it's heterophobia. For that reason.
Never heard that before. That's hilarious.
Wow. It comes about because we get rejected so much. So like I just can't.
Yeah,
I got it.
I just want to be friends with you. It's like go ahead, but
so I was really skeptical. I'm like, I don't know about this. I'm like, it doesn't work out. I don't know. And my cousin's like, yeah, just let him ride on your 4-wheeler. I'm like, all right, fine. So we do it, and then every weekend he's like, hey, can we go ride? And I'm like, all right, we're going to ride. Well, eventually it gets, kind of old. He's like, I don't want to ride anymore. Can we do something else? And I was like, well, like what? He wants to swim. We have a pond in our backyard. Swim in the pond. I was like, all right, swim in the pond. More and more, we're becoming friends. And he's getting real close to me.
And you don't want you're still
I got walls up.
You got walls up.
I got barriers. There's forts between them. Alligators, everything.
You got a moat.
Never happening again. Well,
thou shalt not pass.
Here's where I see God's interplay. Right, is the things you don't know. And my mom one day is shopping in Payless Shoes, and there's this woman that comes up to her. She's working there, and my mom's telling her some story about, I don't even know what. My mom will tell any story anywhere. And the woman's just like, well, you know what? I'm so thankful to God, because my son has like had no friends, and he just met this one friend all of a sudden, and they're so close, and the boy has no idea what he's done for him by being his friend.
Oh wow.
And my mom's like, oh my God, my son just met a kid, and like same thing, like kind of giving him hope again. So they show each other pictures, and they're like, that's the kid.
That's the kid. That's like a scene out of the movie. That's him.
Oh my God, that's crazy. What a small world, right? That's crazy.
Very small. All right, just one step back. My great-grandfather is from Hesperides, Florida. My grandmother on my dad's side is also from Hesperides, Florida. It's a small town that no one's ever heard of.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that.
He used to joke, there's a sign that says you are now entering and leaving Hesperides, Florida, because it's like one street town, and they both came from there and ended up in Fort Pierce.
Wow.
That's the kind of coincidences I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this boy, he gets really close to me. And at some point, he doesn't know I'm gay. I mean, a lot of people, they say they don't know, but to me, I'm just like, I just don't see it. But he tells me, or we get so close that I'm like, I should probably tell him, because he wants me to meet his friends and stuff. And I'm like, I really don't want to meet. There is an age gap between us. I'm 15 and he's 12.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't really want to meet his friends.
Yeah.
I just don't want to deal with that. Well, I meet his friends. They take me to this place called Fire something.
Firehouse?
Yeah, Firehouse.
Yeah, right on.
Oh my God, I hate it.
Selvets, right?
Terrible.
On Selvets, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a club for teens. For tweens.
It's a Christian club for tweens.
Yeah, but it was not Christian inside that place.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Never mind.
The things I saw going on in there, I'm like, I need to get out of here. This is not for me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I was actually happy they shut that thing down because they just weren't paying enough attention to what kids do.
Yeah. Oh, brother.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, that's what happened. You know,
Maybe we don't want to know what happened.
We don't want to know what happened. Go ahead. So keep going. Keep going. Okay. We're in the topic of love right now.
Yes,
okay. Look
love.
at
Sorry.
you and your dirty mind all the
I can't
time.
help it.
I see everything in the background.
Oh,
I'm the observer. So
yes.
I see things nobody sees. And I'm just like, really?
I'm the observer too.
No one saw that. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So I met them, and their first impression was like, "Is he gay?"
Oh.
And my friend's like, no, and I'm thinking, yes. What? How does he not know?
Yeah.
So he at some point confronts me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just kind of asked me. He's like, my friends were kind of saying you were gay, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the time. Okay. And then I'm prepared. I've got on my suit, right? All my armor. I'm ready. I'm ready. Our friendship's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, well, actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Yeah, I am gay. And he doesn't say anything. He just looks at me in the face and he walks right out.
Mm.
And he left.
Really?
And I was like, okay, I was prepared for that, but I wasn't prepared for that. But then he comes right back in and he's like, I'm just kidding. I don't care. and I'm like, oh my God, that's not cute.
Up.
That's not funny.
Why would you do that to me?
Man.
You know what I just went through. I lost a friend. He didn't know why I lost a friend, but he knew I lost a friend.
Right.
And he was like, well, you know what? I think that we need to find you a boyfriend. And I was like, oh, no, please don't do that.
And he's 12.
Yeah.
He is. Wow.
Yeah. So we go to Friday Fest, and he decides he wants to wear my clothes to Friday Fest, which is really odd. It was odd to me because I'm like, why would you? And mind you, at the time, I had these really weird, I don't know if you remember Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
I had these Dragon Ball Z like button-ups.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
I had a lot of Hawaiian shirts. I don't know why. I just I wanted to be a tourist. I'm like, I don't live here.
I'm just visiting.
It was I had a weird wardrobe at the time, but he loved it, so he wanted to wear it, so he did. And we go to Friday Fest, and we run into some people I know from school. I would never say they're really friends; they're more like acquaintances.
Yeah.
And they're like, who? And he he sees this. He sees these people interacting with me, and he comes over to me and he starts putting his arm around me, and a lot of physical contact, which was not really part of our friendship.
Yeah.
Right.
And it made me uncomfortable because I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she's like, is this? Oh, I had to actually. Okay, let me back up one more time. I did come out in school wide in our literary magazine.
Oh. Okay.
But it was this really long letter, basically. And when I gave it to our literature teacher, she didn't read it. She just put it in.
Oh, no.
So when it came out, the administration was not happy about it. You know what I mean? They don't have gay kids at LPA.
Yeah.
At the time, anyway.
Yeah.
And she actually kind of got in trouble for it, and I felt terrible. But she was fine because she's an amazing teacher. And
They're not gonna let him know.
Yeah. But I said what I had to say to the student body and to all the people that had bullied me and stuff. And some people that I didn't expect came up to me and was like, "Wow, I didn't know that about you and what you went through, and I'm so sorry." And there were people that said that to me that I never would have imagined, honestly. So I mean, it did what I wanted it to do. It opened some eyes.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I was now the official gay kid, right? And so we're at this Friday Fest thing, and one of the people who had read it came up to me, and she's really supportive. And she's like, "Oh my God, is this your boyfriend?" And I'm like, no. I'm like, are you trying to destroy what few friendships I have with boys, right? And he's just kind of like, nodding, and I'm like, no, don't even play like that, please don't. So it goes on like that for a while, where we're like that, where we're real close friends, but he's like always joking around about it. And then on my 16th birthday, he wants me to come over to his house, and he asks me out. Well, I mean, I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I think that we should be together. And I'm like, are you gay?
Yeah, because he hasn't come out or said anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
And even at that time, he's like, no.
Really?
And I'm like, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, I just know that I don't want anyone else in my life. And it went like that for 3 months. And one day it was a great relationship. He was my best friend. I thoroughly came to love him like deeply, and I didn't think it could really get any better than that. But one day his grandmother caught him flirting with me. And she asked me to come over and help him with some homework and do something else, like make some banner or something. And he was hitting me with a ruler, and I don't know. I saw the look in her eye as soon as she saw it. It was over. Like, she's like, no, I don't like what's going on here.
Wow.
And after that, he contacted me and he told me that he's not allowed to see me anymore, and that ended our relationship.
Wow.
How was that? That must have been devastating for you.
It was devastating, right? It was like full. Let's see. That was a full. I lost my friend in April. This happened in June, and then it was all over by December.
Wow.
So this is your first real true love, and it's ended by somebody else, because for all intents and purposes, he wanted to be with you.
Yes.
And you would have stayed together probably for
Well, I would like to think so.
Long.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. So years later, he did reach out to me a few times, and he tried to reconnect, but I don't know. I think societal pressures and friends and everything like that kind of play a role at some point where, you're no longer just who you want to be. You're who everyone else wants you to be. And he could never break away from that.
So now that you're in college, you going back to, you're at the bookstore, you're working there, are you enrolled in college at this time? Then
yeah, I was enrolled. I started taking some fine arts courses because I was a fine arts major, and my great grandmother decided that's not good. She was like, you can't make any money doing art. And then all my family kind of followed suit. You can't make any money doing art. Go into the health field, become a nurse. And I'm like, I'm not being a nurse. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be a nurse? There's just no way. I was like, I'd rather be homeless. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
I'd rather be homeless.
So
there goes another societal pressure. You got to make money.
Yeah.
You can't do what you want to do.
Exactly.
Totally.
And I was like, I just won't do anything. I'll just keep on working in the bookstore then until something comes up. So I did. I kept on working at the store, and it wasn't until, well, actually, what did I do? I stayed there. They offered me a full-time job. So this is fast forwarding. I'm 20 years old. They offered me a full-time job. I'd been there for a while, and I told my boss, I don't really see myself leaving Fort Pierce anytime soon, but I do need to make more money, and college probably isn't going to be it for me. And I had a scholarship too, which is, I just didn't want to do anything that was in front of me. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to work. So she didn't want to lose me, and she talked to her dean, and they created a position for me, a branch campus manager. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, what? You're going to hire me full time? And she's like, yes, we are, because I believe in you, and I don't want to lose you for this college. So that was what I was going to do. I was like, all right, I got a full-time job. I'll figure it out from here.
Good.
Right? Well, that's when my dad decided to re-enter my life.
Oh, okay.
That was going to be a question. Like, when does this happen? Okay, good. Go ahead.
Yes. So he, it was right when it was Mother's Day, May 13th, 2007, I think. He had reached out to me, and I hadn't heard from him in a long time. I mean,
years now.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, he may have called me once or twice, but I just wouldn't pick up the phone. Like, you have enough people yell at you on the phone. I have phobia right now with the phone. Like, I've been yelled at so many times over the phone for all kinds of random things that I just don't want to pick it up.
You don't want to pick it up.
No. So he reached out to me. We had, mind you too, I had come out to him within this time period though.
Okay.
I was 18. I was actually visiting grandma. He happened to be there. I didn't know it. And he was asking me about a girlfriend, and we got in an argument, and I was just like, it came out in the argument. I was like, you know what, Dad, I'm gay. I'm not, you don't even know me. You don't even know. He's like, I know. I knew for a long time. But I found out from his sister later that he didn't know.
He didn't know.
And my aunt's like, he came to my house crying. He's like, you knew Lil Maurice was gay? She's like, of course I knew. But anyway, So it's Mother's Day, and he's reaching out to me, and I'm telling him about what's going on, and he's like, "Don't take that job." And I'm like, "What? Why not? It's full time. Why would I not take it?" He goes, "The college will never appreciate you. They will never appreciate anything that you do. They're not set up for appreciating individuals like that. Don't take that job." I was like, "Dad, the first time we talk and all this time, you're gonna tell me not to do something?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, this is how the conversation's gonna go?"
Yeah.
Huh.
He's like, "Yeah, no, I think it's a bad idea." I was like, "Well, I am going to take that job, Dad." But that night, so the next day I was supposed to be my first day on the job. And that night we get a phone call that he was involved in a terrible car accident.
Oh, wow.
Right at the Palm Bay exit. Yeah. So, I mean, he's an alcoholic. He was drinking. But according to Grandma, he had slept it off and he was fine and, did his thing. So they tell us, he's in a bad car accident. We'll keep you posted. And then a little while later, we get another phone call, and they're like, "You need to come here now."
Wow.
And so my mom gets my sister, and we all start driving up there. And on our way up there, my aunt calls me and says, "He's gone."
Wow.
And I'm like, "What do you mean he's gone?" And she's like, "He's gone." So we're all like, no, gone? What do you mean gone? I thought it was just like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, a bumper accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you said, it was an accident.
Well, gone from the hospital. He went home.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
okay, what's going on here? So we get there. Everyone's crying in the parking lot. They said he died on the table.
Oh, no.
What happened was he had fallen asleep at the wheel, and he woke up, and they think he overcorrected. So he flipped his blazer. He didn't wear a seatbelt. He never wore a seatbelt. And he flew out, and he hit the pavement.
Oh, man.
And they brought him back to life there on the scene, got him to the hospital, and then he died on the table.
He died on the table.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So there we were. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We go back home. I'm like, I don't even know what to think about that. And I'm supposed to be at work at 6. So I don't sleep. I just go right into work.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting there, like contemplating, what does all this mean to me? Like, I mean, we weren't really close. So like, I don't know. I didn't even know how to feel about it. Honestly.
How do you make sense of it all?
Right. Well, then my boss calls me and she's like, "What are you doing there?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, I just got told what happened. What are you doing there? And I'm like, I don't know what else to do with myself. Honestly, I'm just here.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You need to go home." I go,
Wow.
I can't go home. So I stayed there, and throughout the whole process, the whole funeral and everything, my aunt took care of all of it. But I hit a different kind of depression while I was working there. I really hated Chastain. I was situated at the Stewart bookstore, and I was just so unhappy being there. Like every time someone would leave, I would just start crying. I'm laughing now. I ate McDonald's every day, man. I gained so much weight. I went from 145 pounds to 195. Like I was so incredibly unhappy. And my boss, I mean, she saw this, and for other reasons too. She just like, "You need to come back to Fort Pierce." I think.
Okay.
So did you start at Fort Pierce and then end up at Chastain, and then
I started there part time, and then Chastain was a branch campus manager position they made, and then I went there. But then she's like, "Yeah, I don't want you there anymore."
Why were you so unhappy? Is it just because your father passing, or was it the environment there? What happened that?
I mean, a little bit of all of it, to be honest with you.
Or things just surfaced altogether at
so
once.
it's like you go from being at a store full of life with other people that are like your pseudo family to being isolated. And in the time of isolation, you just suffered a great loss. So not only have you lost your pseudo family, you've also lost your actual biological father. And then I'm still dealing with all the loss of like everyone else that came before that.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and just stewing in loss. And no one working there is making it any better. We had a provost that was just not the nicest person. And we had situations that came up because the whole concept of a brand store for the college was new, that we weren't really prepared for.
Wow. So you're dealing with all this stuff. Depression comes in, because you really can't mitigate feelings, they just arise. How do you get past that?
Well, when she brought me back to the main campus, that helped a lot.
Okay.
It allowed me to kind of like soak into something. In fact, what happened was they put me in charge of their Apple computer sales and marketing. And I basically just became that.
Mm.
I said, all right, I'm going in 100%. Like, I've got nothing else going on in my life. I just suffered loss. I need something.
Yeah.
I need something to do.
Wow.
And in the meantime that I'm doing this, a student tells me, she looks at all the things I'm doing. She's like, are you in the graphic design program? And I'm like, there's a graphic design program
here?
She's like, yeah, you don't know that and you work here. But you know what? When you work there, there's a lot of things that they just don't tell you. They assume that, you're going to learn it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's how all institutions work that way.
Yes.
Like they just, just osmosis.
Yeah, exactly.
I put this out there. You should know it.
Yeah.
It should be soaked into your mind. So I'm like, no, I had no idea it's a graphic design program. And I'm thinking, well, do I really want to do graphic design? And I'm thinking, oh, practical application of art. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll work. So I look into it and then I decide I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I'm going to graphic design. So that started though in what is it? 2013 is when I actually got in the program. And I didn't finish it until 2017. So it took me a little while.
Yeah.
But
you're working full time and you're
right. And I do maybe 1 or 2 courses every semester, that sort of thing. Now, meanwhile, my scholarship is running out. Like they're telling me, this wasn't supposed to take this long, Maurice. So they come and get on to me constantly. And I'm like, I know, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm trying to do my job. My job affects hundreds, thousands of students. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I always prioritized the store over myself. And I mean, up until the day I left, oh my God, I don't want to say I was trapped there, but I was trapped there for the last 3 years because I prioritized the college over me. And I'm like, at one point I'm like, no more.
Yeah.
No more. Me today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you completed the graphic design.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So it took a lot of work.
It did take a lot of work.
And do you enjoy graphic design? Is that one of the things that now at this stage in your life, do something that you enjoy?
I enjoy graphic design. I enjoy illustration. I enjoy the work. I don't enjoy the clients so much.
Okay.
That's actually the one aspect of it that probably anyone would tell you it's not always fun. And it's really just about communication because sometimes people come into things and they have an expectation, but they're not willing to share that expectation for whatever reason. And it's like you have to be a mind reader sometimes to get that out of them because all I want to do is make you happy.
Yeah, correct.
Make you happy and make you look good.
Yes.
But they're not able to articulate what they want, to be happy. And maybe it's because they don't know what they really want to be happy. But finding that happy medium, that's difficult.
Yeah.
So is that something that you're so you get the degree, and you're still employed at IRSC. And so are you doing some graphic design outside of IRSC, or are you just...
Not really. So what happened was while I'm working at the college, I thought in my great scheme of things, why not help all these departments that are struggling by using the new skills that I've developed because I'm an asset of the college. So I viewed myself as an asset of the college. And I didn't see a reason why I should belong to just one department if I could help other departments. And if I could unite all that we're doing in each of those departments to further the larger mission. So that's what I did. I went back and I helped each department that came to me with whatever they needed, whether that was graphic design or it was crafting a communication or whatever it may be.
Right.
I did that up until the day I left. Well, no, I step back. The last 3 years when I was in the operations manager position, it was so burdened with tasks and daily minutia that there was just no time to do anything else.
To be creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that typically a lot of that is what happens in big institutions. You're not really creating, you're more just maintaining the ship to flow.
Right. Yeah. And that's all I was doing. And I knew that. So I'm watching, holes pop up in the ship and you're plugging them and plugging them and plugging them. Then you look in the ship and you're like, I need a new ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So during this time that you're working full time now, are you, and you earn your degree and whatnot, have you met anybody else? Are you... Like, what's your friends now at this? What's that perspective at this point? Because now it's, you're older.
Yes. Yeah. Things did change a lot. After my high school friends, the couple that I had kind of moved away, I was left with this vacuum, right? There's nobody in my life. So I did end up making some new friends, mostly other gay males that I could find. But really the only friend, even since that period to now, that stuck by my side was a cousin who's also gay. Yeah. But he's not in the closet yet, so
no names.
On him. But no, he's been there. I met somebody at one point while I was working at the college, and I thought I was going to marry him, but our relationship just took a nosedive after 5 years, and then I dealt with that loss. Tried again because I'm a very forgiving person.
With the same person?
With the same person, which I used to pride myself on being able to cut someone off and just be done. But in my age and in the time, I found that as long as we're both here on this planet together, we should probably try to make something work.
Yeah.
At one point in time, if I loved you, how could I ever not love you?
Right.
Like I just, that love doesn't go away, and I don't see myself ever not loving you, even though I'm hurt and I'm angry by what you've done. So
where are you now, relationship wise?
Well, I got married in 2017, same year I graduated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I married my best friend. His name is Manny. And we met at the college. We were volunteering for a Thanksgiving feeding thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I am.
She is.
Yeah. In Fort Pierce, all the churches get together and they prepare like 500 plus meals for families. So he was looking for something to do. He got involved in that. And I do that every year, or I did that every year. And when we met there, we just like hung out, and it turns out he knew about me before I knew who he was, because he was friends with one of my ex-friends, and this ex-friend of mine, he just had it out for me. Some people, I don't blame him though. It was because the guy I was with for 5 years, he kind of like pulled me away from my friends. There's some relationships that are kind of possessive.
Yeah.
So he pulled me away from my friends, and my friends did not like that. Yeah. They took that on me. Yeah. So after that, and as catty as the gay community can be, they're just like, no, he's out, you guys. He's done. No more. Maurice is dead. And I was.
And you were. I was going to say, you were, right?
Everyone believed everything they said. I'm really not that bad of a guy.
Yeah.
I'm really not. So when he met me and he got to know me, he's like, why did they say these things about you? I was like, hurt people.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God. That is the truth. Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you categorize your relationship? I mean, we've been married a long time, and relationships go through their ups and downs and the growing stages. How do you categorize your relationship?
I don't really categorize it. How do you mean?
Oh, how would you explain it? You mean, are you guys growing together? Are you happy with the situation? Or like, is this
they're like you're like,
I mean, you're
a
couple.
couple.
I mean, like, is there any different from, let's say, your great grandma and your great grandfather besides the alcohol?
No, the alcohol's involved now. So
yeah. But not like that.
No. Yeah, no, we're not. No, it's nothing like that. Honestly, like our arguments are. They're pretty petty.
They're always
petty.
They are.
Especially when it's your best friend. They're always freaking petty.
Why did you throw out the garbage?
Oh my God.
I told you about it. You
How long are those clothes going to be on the floor? I take pictures and I document it because I'm a documenter.
Somebody used to do that to me.
Now, I know Manny, and I just don't believe any of this. Just so if Manny's looking at watching this, which I know he will be, because he just supports you like unbelievable. I don't believe it.
So you fight about the same damn things that we do too. The clothes being left everywhere, the garbage not being thrown, the dishes on the dishes.
Now, are you the one that's on him about that, or
no? I'm on him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do feel bad because I did warn him.
Yeah.
Before he started dating me, I was like, I'm a hard person to be with. I'm a Libra. I document. He's like, no, I can deal with it. And there's days where he looks at me, I'm like, are you still dealing?
Manny's tough. He can
What
take it.
about what about at this stage in your life? I mean, it's having a complete family with kids. Is that something you guys talked about?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I honestly wanted to have kids by the time I was 30. So something I didn't talk about was when I was younger, I guess I always kind of, I don't know. I wanted a family. You know, I wanted to feel like I was part of a family or a family of my own, so to speak. And there was a situation that came up with family friends that this woman that was a family friend, she had 5 kids and they were all going to be going in the DCF. And I was at the age of 18 and I'm like, I want to adopt all of them. That didn't happen. Yeah. But that's just how bad I've always wanted kids. You know what I mean? Like I just did. So me and Manny have definitely talked about it and we're going through the adoption process right now. Yeah.
Are you really?
We haven't gotten to the home study phase yet. We're just in the paperwork and everything. It's taken forever.
That's
COVID really slowed everything down.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes. So we're looking at kids from the foster care system because, wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Tons. And I mean, they're all like classified as special needs because of the situations they come from. And I can't even imagine being ripped away from, you know, my family. No. Even in the worst situation in your head, you're always thinking, you know, I can survive this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things I've seen with my cousins when they probably should have been taken away that they survived it. You know what I mean? So I understand it. And I feel bad for any kid in that situation. And I would like to provide a home, you know,
for that. A couple of things, because again, you've dealt with so many obstacles, and not really by choice, just by happenstance. It's just the way the universe works. Being that, how challenging was it for you guys to get married? Consider that you were a same-sex couple, and what were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome with that as individuals?
Well. It wasn't difficult for me. It was difficult for Manny. Manny was not out of the closet yet.
Oh, okay.
And when I proposed to him, he wasn't out of the closet. So he decided that he wanted to come out of the closet and announce his marriage at the same time, which I was like, that's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? I'm like, what are you doing to your family? Not only are they going to have to accept that you're gay, but you're also bringing someone into the family.
That's hilarious.
But his family knew me already. Okay. And his dad was very partial to me. Even to this day, his dad, I'm basically his son. Manny's out and I'm in.
He's a step kid.
No, when we go to the house, like his dad's like, oh, hey, Manny, Maurice, come over here. I have to tell you something. He told me so many stories about his past, and Manny's like, I've never heard that story before. I was like, but you know the problem? You don't listen.
Yeah.
You know, you write your dad off real quick, and you don't listen. I said, when you've lost people, you're gonna sit there and listen. You'll listen, even if you don't really want to hear the story. You're gonna listen. So that's what he decided he was gonna do. And you know, they're all Catholic, and well, I don't know why I said that. Like you would know it. They're Mexican American, and the majority of them are Catholic.
Yeah,
so.
Catholic.
It's all right. We're not anymore, but we grew up in that environment. We understand. We understand.
Spanish people.
Basically,
sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
He used to be like their Sunday school teacher. Yeah. So he had all these connections in the church, and he was really worried about what they were going to think of him and say about him. And I'm like, well, it comes down to this: are you going to accept it or are you not?
Yeah.
Because it's your life.
Yeah.
You're going to live it for you. You're going to live it for them.
Yeah.
And he decided he wants to live it for him. So he got his whole family together, and he's like, Mom, Dad, I'm gay. And his dad's like, what you want me to do about it?
Just imagine the amount of anxiety that was on him going into that, and then that's the response, and you're just like, what? Yeah,
that's what he was looking like.
He was like, you're not mad at me? You're not upset at me? And you're like, no, what you want to do?
I'm like, I told you they weren't going to care. I was like, Manny, have you met yourself?
Oh my God.
He's just, you know, his mannerisms. He's very flamboyant sometimes.
Yeah,
but
he's so cute.
No, they were very accepting. And when it came to the wedding, I personally, I didn't want to have a wedding. I just don't see a reason in putting money into something like that. I'm like, I'd rather buy a house or whatever else, you know. But he wanted to have that ceremony, so he did. And they all came, and it was beautiful. Really, it was a beautiful ceremony for everybody.
Yeah. I saw pictures. You both looked very handsome.
Thank you.
Yes, I loved it.
How do you feel as two individuals that have decided to live your lives together? The societal civil structure of not being able for you guys to not being free to be able to do that from a legal standpoint still, or is that available now? Now you
we're married.
You're married.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
so there was no issue you going through that anymore.
That's
awesome. I wasn't aware of that.
Honestly, like even in the process of like I'll just give you an example. We were taking our engagement photos. And it was in downtown Fort Pierce, out in the open. And the whole time I'm looking around like, this is okay?
Is this the Fort Pierce side?
Like, are they? Who's gonna come after us? Someone's gonna say something. I know someone's gonna say something. Well, some guy walks up, and he's like, "You guys taking engagement photos?" And we're like, "Yeah." He goes, "You guys make a cute couple." And I almost fell down. Like I was like, "What is going on?" Things are so different from when I was growing up. So different. Like we met no hostility.
Awesome.
And that's the first time I can say that. And that's probably why I brought him into my life, because things come to Manny in a way that they don't come to me. You know,
he is just so like, he's got this magnetism.
He does. He has energy and magnetism. And I'm
he really
like,
does.
He's light and I'm dark. Like that's just in every way that I mean that. like it's just, he attracts certain things that I don't. And I help him deal with things that no one else can. You know what I mean? Like that's how we work it out.
So how does it feel like, finding your other half, your complement?
It feels great.
Or your supplement.
I don't worry about anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's nothing that crosses my mind. Look, we got to a point, he told me before we had gotten married that he just wanted to take care of me and that he wanted to allow me the freedom to be the artist that I wish that I could have been.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, people say things. So
yeah.
I don't mean that. We got to the point where I was working at the store and I was just stressed out all the time. I was coming home and I was drinking a lot more than I probably should have been. And I'm just like, I just didn't want to. That was my coping mechanism, basically. Yeah. I just didn't know what else to do. And he said, I think it's time. And I'm like, what? He said, I make enough money now. I think it's time. You just need to leave. You need to leave. I was like, I don't know. He's like, take a leap. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
Don't tell me to do it and then back out.
Can't take it back.
Yeah. If you mean it. He goes, do it. So
that leads us now into kind of like the SKR reflection. This is something that we do at the end because this has been an amazing quest.
Yeah.
Up to this point.
Yeah, for sure.
And before we move forward as to like the things that you're doing and the things that are coming up for you, I want to kind of like take this moment to reflect like your great grandfather used to do, as to kind of like just look back and in retrospect look at all the things. So one of the consistent things that I've heard in your story is the number one, you categorize yourself as an introvert, or you identify as an introvert. There's many times in your life in which you were alone emotionally. You were alone in standing up for yourself. What are the lessons that you've learned during those really lonely times, either for the good or bad times, but it was just you? What are some of the biggest lessons that stick out for the need and the importance of being alone and being separated from everybody?
I think it's really important to reflect. To reflect not just on how something made you feel or even the feeling itself, but on all the things around it. Like I try to understand the motivations that are behind why a person chose to treat me a certain way or do a certain action towards me, or even people that are in their life that maybe motivated them to cast a certain kind of thought pattern onto them and so on and so forth, because everything is so connected in such a way. So reflection is really important. I mean, what do we have memory for if not reflection?
Even that reflection.
And then something else was attachment. And there is all things in moderation, including attachments. And that's something else my great grandfather taught me, because there was one lesson about things in this house. You know, you didn't pay for them, so on and so forth. One day he went through my room, took everything, put it in a trash bag, and threw it all away.
How did I know you were going to say that? I was like, he threw your shit away, didn't he?
He sure did. He came in there and he took everything.
Well, you did something or just...
I don't even remember what I did.
Yeah.
All I remember is it's probably not sharing. I had a hard time sharing things. My cousins broke everything. Okay, I would come in and like all my toys were in pieces, and I just cry, and they just laugh, and that was okay. You know what I mean? Like, because sharing. But he did that. He took everything and he threw it away. And I sat there and I cried hard for a long time, and then I sat there and I realized none of this even matters.
Yeah.
None of it. I'm still here, and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And it was that day forward that I kind of I detached from a lot of things. Better or worse, I'm not sure. But I did. And then years later, after he died, I found all that stuff actually in the shed.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, he didn't throw it away.
So he was trying to teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
About don't be attached to things.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
But that's when I stopped kind of like, none of it really matters. Just all that really matters are the connections we have to each other.
The connections we have to each other.
Yeah.
Yes. And how we treat one another.
So confronting, right? You've confronted so many things. And that's something that's to be admirable. I mean, let me take a couple of things and then, and you tell me, how you deal with this. Let's start first with race identity.
This is still a problem, actually. And actually, even more so now that I'm married to someone Hispanic, because since my mom was a half Colombian and I'm a quarter Colombian, every time I encounter anyone of a Hispanic background, they can't accept that I'm black and white, for one. They're like, well, you got to have something else in you, sweetie. And I'm like, well, I mean, my mom is like half Colombian. It's like, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. And they're like, you don't speak Spanish? You don't know your culture? I'm like, but according to my 23andMe, I'm like 19% Nigerian. So if you want to talk about my culture,
right,
it's Nigerian.
Right.
Come on. But no, so yeah, I face that a lot. And my response is always, I'm just American.
Yeah.
I was born in America. I'm American. I have more subcultures that I correspond to than I do like any main culture.
Yeah.
And I live my life daily. Like there's nothing in particular that I'm really partial to, maybe because of my detachment.
Again, confronting loss, death. You're confronting the death of your great grandparents, your dad. What have you learned from confronting those situations?
Ooh, I think I'm still learning, honestly, about confronting loss. Loss is just, sometimes I feel like loss started at the very beginning, like the division of the first cells that ended up being what mankind is today. Like we're the separation of oneself. It's just an ongoing process and learning to cope with that. And there will ever be a void that is just present within us that like calls for something to fill it. And unfortunately we find all kinds of terrible things to fill it with, but we also find beautiful things. And all I can think is like, in dealing with the loss that I've dealt with, it makes me appreciate and love the people that are still here and present. And I acknowledge those people more and the situation. So if I come across someone in some random place, Walmart, maybe I'm walking through and someone's just like, they reach out. There's something they need to speak on. I allow myself to be that vessel, to take in that information and to be that, because that's what we're here for. I think that we're here to like help each other.
Yeah. So before we started taping, we were talking about values, and how, you live your life thrown into the world. Values are put upon you, you cipher through those things, and then you begin to integrate things into who you are as a person.
Right.
What are some of the biggest, some of the values that you, after reflecting on your life, that are really, really integrated into the course of your next path? What are those values?
Well, oh boy. I have to say honesty. Honesty has always been a big value that my great grandfather imparted on me, and something that I accept. Like even if you know that honesty may come with a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice you should be willing to make just to be what you are and who you are. So moving forward, I can only ever be honest, which is why I'm always an open book.
Yeah.
I can't stand when someone asks me something and involves other people because of that reason, because I'm like, oh God, how do I tell just my part of this? 'Cause I'm willing to tell you everything, but other people are affected. Let's see, other values. I value life, and I mean all life on the planet. Life is a struggle for everything that lives.
Yeah.
And anything that has come into being deserves to be in being. So to kill anything, to destroy anything for no reason, wow.
Yeah.
How can you possibly do that? So whenever I see even like a kid step on a snail, I go off the... Manny can tell you. He once accidentally did it, and I flipped. I was like, that snail deserves its life as much as you do. And that's just the way I feel. Like,
how do you feel about mosquitoes?
I'm okay with mosquitoes to an extent. I mean, sometimes I have that involuntary reaction where you're like, oh my God, and I cry. Oh my God.
That was totally a joke.
I'll put my hands up. I'm just
I didn't mean to.
Take it. I take it.
Just give it to me now.
I see roadkill and I cry sometimes. It just, I don't know. I just feel bad for life.
I have a problem.
So you have become aware of all these things about you, about the way people might perceive you, the reality of who you are as a person, and you are very self-aware. Now that you understand all this stuff, what are you doing? What is the next chapter on your quest?
Well, it's always been a question of like, what's my purpose? And finding a purpose is really difficult for all of us. I mean, that's probably what we're all here for, is just to try to figure out what that even means. Like, why do I keep on living? Why is it worth it? But no, for me, it's always been, I have always found myself in a position of discovery for other people. And it seems that even just in existing, I was just a catalyst for change. And it sounds funny to say that, but truthfully, like all of my friends have always told me, I'm never really doing much whenever I'm in a group, but they're like, it's just like, you have to just be there in order for the group to succeed. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you're like the glue. And I'm like, glue. No, I don't think so. I don't glue anyone together, but I'm present. And in being present, change happens. And so what I've seen is like a lot of people, when I make friends, and I have really good friends now, what they like about me is that I will sit down, I'll look them in the eye, and I will talk to them, and I listen to what they're saying, and we have a real conversation. And when they tell me that no one does that, I'm just like, what do you mean people don't do that? Like, that's what having a conversation looks like. Like, no, people don't do that.
No.
And I'm like, how could we grew up the same way? Like, but no, I was raised by such different people. And there's a lot of people out there who don't have anyone listening to them, and they don't have a voice because of it. So I feel like my next steps are to just continue helping people to discover what it is about themselves that's special and unique, and find their purpose. And my purpose therein is to help you find yours.
Is there a particular practical avenue in which you're going to be doing that?
Teaching. And when I do art, it's always cathartic. I sit there and I cry. I listen to really sad songs. My playlist, like,
drink a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of wine. I'm just sitting there, and I'm more of a digital artist now than I am anything else. But I do mixed media as well. I wish I could be an abstract painter. It's like a rock star of art, but it's just not in me when I do it. It takes too much structure. I'm too structured, and yeah, so I'll sit there and I'll work through my emotions and like listen to a symphony of something, and there it is. Like, I finished this piece, and then I get really sick thereafter. I just dedicate so much of my energy into it that like I crash. Right after.
You have nothing left.
I have nothing left.
Yeah.
And I think that by using those visual expressions, other people will be able to do the same thing. They can work through their emotions. They can let some symbology exist within the piece and give them an avenue to articulate their feelings. And I would like to do that with middle school and high schoolers because they're going through the same thing I went through. We might be talking about slightly different subjects, but it's all the same self-discovery.
It is. Now, how do you perceive the challenge of such a structure environment like schooling, bringing that in?
Yes. it's terrible. I can't. When you're going, when I was going through the education process and they're teaching me like, this is how you grade things. This is how you have a rubric and all of that. I'm like, you can't really put a rubric to some of this stuff. Like it just doesn't work that way.
Especially with art.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, did they complete it or not? Because really, that's all it's going to come down to.
That's what it's going to go down to. Yeah.
But no, I like to. It's not, and I got marked down too for talking too much when I was doing
in class.
Yes, like they're like they knock. I probably shouldn't even say this, but
are you an introvert? Is this what? Okay.
No, but he's rebelling. He's rebelling. He's something doesn't make sense. You're gonna speak up on it.
Yeah. And it wasn't even just that. Like when we got into the internship, I get up there and I give a lecture, and then I have a conversation with the students, and it could be just like me literally sitting in front of the class and I'm looking at them, and until they make an answer, no one's talking. I'm like, we'll sit here in silence. I'm going to stare right at you. Like, I was like, come on, we're going to have a conversation. And she's like, you were sage on the stage. And I'm like, what? What is that? They told me
sage on the stage.
On the stage. That means you've been in front of the class for too long and you're not letting the students interact with the material on their own.
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Yeah, I got marked down for that.
Oh no.
But the students' response was that they loved it.
Of course.
They said they felt like I engaged them.
Yeah.
And that they had a voice.
Yeah.
And that they had the opportunity to actually learn something.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. It was, so where education lies versus where people want to be, two very different places.
Yeah.
Right. The structure of it doesn't really meet the needs.
So when it comes to, is there anything else? I mean, because that's a beautiful thing. And I'm just, I worked the last 3 years in middle school and high school. And I love those kids. Those are my favorite middle schoolers.
Me too.
I don't know. Everybody's afraid. It's like, what is wrong with you? It's
that's
like,
what I was going to say.
I love the middle schoolers, man.
So many teachers I've talked to are like, what's wrong with you? Why would you think to do that? And I was like, I know that's what everyone's reaction is, but that is a period of change.
It is.
If you're going to change an object's trajectory, it's going to be there.
Right there. You're absolutely
because that's when their individuality is developing, their sense of self. They are looking for things they can do to grow within that sense. And
it is like the most, in my opinion, because, I've been through that. It's the most difficult period in your life, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And that's my own story, but it's like, it's tough.
There's so many changes. I mean,
they need people like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what Manny says.
Omar, okay, so, a whole nother interview. Sorry.
Is there anything else besides that you're working on? I mean, I know there's something else out there that you.
Yeah, there's something out there. You're not going to talk about it.
No, we're not going to talk about your graphic design and the shirts and
the freelance.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably should be bigger than what it is in terms of like how much it matters to I'm more excited about teaching.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. In the meantime of being a teacher, because I see the certification process. Are you familiar with the certification process?
Yeah.
So I had my 3-year temporary, and I got that in 2017 because I was planning on leaving the store and doing that. I was like, I'm just going to go. I've been doing graphic design for a little while for other departments. I'm going to go right on into teaching. And then in 2018, Workday went live for our college.
Workday.
And there were some issues between our systems, that system and the Nebraska system of the store. On top of that, we lost our VP. She left. We lost our manager of the store. He left. And the people who were left in the store, 2 of them were relatively new and they didn't have any experience. So there I am feeling guilty. I'm like, all right, I'm going to stick around for a little while. And I ended up being there for 3 years, eating up all of my temporary certification.
Yeah.
So when I finished with the store, or actually in that last year, I was working on the Educator Preparedness Institute, which is how you go from a bachelor's degree to teaching in the state of Florida. And I was finishing the program right at the limit in May. But it turned out it didn't matter. I have to wait another year.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have to wait until May 2022 before I can recertify for my full-time certification, full-term certification of 5 years. So I'm in limbo right now. And in limbo, I decided, all right, I'm going to do graphic design. So I went and made a legitimate business. I'm in the Florida marketplace thing as a vendor so I can work with departments and state institutions and things like that. I volunteer, which I haven't been able to volunteer in so many years. And that sounds terrible. I don't get paid for anything I do, but I just love doing it. Like,
awesome.
Especially since the stress isn't there. When you're getting paid for it, it's like, no, I have to do this.
Yeah.
But when you're not paid for it,
it comes from you.
I want to do this. And even though you're giving me a hard time, I believe in this. So I'm going to do it anyway. So I do that. And I do artwork for... As much as I love doing art, I find I only do it really well when it's being donated.
That's
like,
interesting.
I know it's really weird for me. Like, I do all this stuff and I feel like it's just, I don't know, I don't like it. But when I do it for someone else, for like an organization like St. Lucie County Little Feet or Pay Center for Girls, it comes out like, and I'm like, wow.
Well, you don't have that expectation of outcome. You know, you're not doing it for the financial gain. You're doing it just for the simple pleasure of self-expression.
Yeah.
Or because you're doing it for someone else, that it's coming out of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was raised, if you're going to give something away, give your best.
Yeah.
So I try to always do that. And I don't know. That's just the best I could do.
So
That's awesome.
To conclude it all, how it's kind of like a funny thing, and this is the first time I'm actually doing it because I've titled everybody's episode myself. But if we were to title your episode, right, what would be the tagline and why?
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just thought about it too.
Talk about putting you on the spot, huh?
Right.
Oh, what a way to conclude this interview.
Mixed reaction. That's usually what I get.
That is hilarious. If you enjoy our discussions, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Also, leave us some comments. We want to hear your feedback. If you're interested in knowing more about A Soul's Quest, make sure you check us out on our website at asoulsquest.com.